Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Passive Income Lifestyle Series. I'm your host, Travis Watts, the Director of Investor Education here at Ashcroft Capital. In today's episode, what we're talking about is retirement is not an age, it's a number. Disclaimers as always, never financial advice, not telling you or anyone what to do with your money, so please always seek licensed financial advice. Now, I'll share with you a quick story to get started. In my early 20s, I remember having this epiphany. I started to question the traditional financial path of we get an education, then we go get a job, and then we start turning our money over into Wall Street or retirement accounts, if you will. And then we wait until we're 59 and a half when we can finally access those accounts. But why retire at 59 and a half? Because Social Security doesn't even kick in till age 62. But then why retire at 62? Because the longer you wait, the more you might potentially get from that government program. So I remember questioning that and thinking to myself, is that the only path? Is that all there is? And then it finally struck me that retirement doesn't have to be an age. It can be a number. In other words, what if I could simply replicate the financial structure of the average 65-year-old retiree in America? If I could do that, why couldn't I retire at any age? And it was kind of unforeseen when I was 20 years old that I got into real estate. It was 2009, by the way. So we're in the middle of a big market meltdown. Real estate's on sale. And this is when I got into real estate, when I was 20. And it gave me a perspective and an upper hand knowledge that almost nobody my age had. And that was understanding the power of passive income, money that I didn't have to trade my time for, money that could be tax advantaged in the case of real estate, and money that I could access now rather than decades from now. But why was nobody talking about passive income? Because as I scoured all the news headlines and looked in the media and saw the billboards and asked family, everything was about buy low and sell high in terms of investing. It was buy a stock when it's low and hold it long term till it goes up, or it was max out your 401k or your IRA, and hopefully that's enough money when you end up retiring, or it's fix and flip a house and turn a quick profit. But why not sustainable income that could help you throughout a lifetime, or at least income that could be used to elevate your lifestyle today rather than later? So my research began, and I began studying retirement data. And if we look at some more recent examples to make this more relevant to this conversation, I was looking at things like, for example, the Federal Reserve does a study on consumer finances. And what they found is that the average 65-year-old retiree in America has roughly $426,000 saved. Another example by the Social Security Administration as of 2022 is that the average 65-year-old retiree has roughly a $2,500 payment every month. Okay, so I just realized I need to have some passive income that's equivalent or in excess of that amount if this is what I want to do. Or I just read an article from Susie Orman, I think it was on CNBC, and she says 1 of 3 homeowners are still paying off a mortgage when they reach age 65. So in other words, 2/3 of homeowners already have their house paid off. So I made a little mental note of that. I'm going to need a paid off house if I want to be in the majority of retirees at age 65. And then there's healthcare. Now, I'm just going to exclude the possibility that I'm covered by Medicaid or Medicare in my 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. So I'm going to have private coverage. So I just ran a new analysis of this the other day in preparation for this episode, and I found out it's about $1,500 per month for a family of 3 like mine in our particular situation. So again, mental note, I need another $1,500 in passive income to pay for healthcare costs. So the bottom line is I made a decision to structure my financial life to be that of the average 65-year-old retiree in America. And by the way, this is the power of reverse engineering your goals. Said another way, you start with the end in mind and you work backwards. Now, I will share with you the steps that I took to do just this, but I do want to be transparent with you. This is me being vulnerable. This is uncomfortable for me, quite frankly. This is information I haven't shared with my own family, aside from my spouse. So if you can appreciate that, I appreciate you. And my philosophy in doing all of these episodes is just that. If I can change one person's life for the better, then this was all worth it. So the first step was to keep my overhead low. Now, I was already doing this because my gross earnings when I was 20 years old were about $30,000 per year, and I had no investments or additional income sources. So I was living a pretty minimal lifestyle. But like a lot of Americans, one of our biggest costs is housing. Now, remember, this was 2009 that we're talking about. I decided to become a homeowner because the opportunity was there. Real estate was on sale. And the first place that I bought was a little townhome, 2-bed, 1-bath. It was under $100,000, just for perspective, if you're wondering how I bought a house with $30,000 in wages. Also, I had been saving since age 15 from working numerous jobs to this point. So that became my down payment. But most importantly, why I did this is so that I could have a roommate. And the roommate helped split the bills. They paid part of the mortgage. They paid half of the bills, roughly speaking. So it kept my overhead low to start. Step number 2 was to find a job that paid better wages. $30,000 a year just wasn't going to cut it for me if I was going to be serious about this goal and actually accomplish it. So I applied to over 100 jobs in a matter of about 1 year. And that's hard to imagine, but it's true. It's probably closer to 150 jobs. But again, we have to remember, it wasn't like today where jobs are dime a dozen. This was the Great Recession, right? So I'm out there competing as a newly grad with people with 10, 20, 30, 40 years experience. So everyone's looking at me last. But thankfully, it finally clicked and I found a manual labor job in the oil and gas industry, which entailed 14-hour workdays, 98 hours per week. And that was a lot of overtime. And if you really look at the numbers, if you worked your butt off, you could make a 6-figure salary starting in year number 1. So that's what I did. So step number 2, to simplify that, is to find your highest and best earning potential. For some of you, it's what you went to school for. For others, it might be starting a side business and then coupling that with your full-time job. And for others, it might mean a career change, at least temporarily, to something that pays a little better to get you on the fast track. And step number 3 was to save and invest. And the more important piece to that puzzle is to invest. Now, this really helps if you have a low overhead, which is why I started with low overhead as step number 1. But traditional financial advice might be something like save 10 or 15% of your earnings. I would argue if you're wanting to do what we're talking about in this episode, it needs to be more like 30 to 50% of your gross earnings going to savings. Now, while that might seem like a huge number, just keep in mind, this is only for a short period of time until your investments start growing and gaining momentum. Okay, it's a lot easier to invest your way to retirement than to save your way to retirement. But regardless, step number 3 is save and invest. Now, fast forwarding to my late 20s, I had built an investment portfolio of over $1 million. Now, I want to pause here to clarify something, because I just told you a few minutes ago that the average 65-year-old has roughly $426,000 set aside for retirement, right? So why did I have $1 million? Well, remember, I had to have enough passive income also to cover the equivalent of Social Security and my healthcare costs. So here's how the math works. If we just use simple round numbers and we take $1 million, we exclude $400,000, that's retirement savings. Now there's $600,000 left. So what I was doing is investing for passive income in my investment. So if you take 600,000 times 8% a year, we'll just call that the yield, that's $48,000 per year, or the equivalent of $4,000 per month. That's why I needed that specific number. So the key in that step is to focus on passive income. At least that's what I did. So it gives you a real meaningful measure of how much money you have rolling in month to month. Now, on to the last and final step, step number 4, pay off your house. And guys, I got to tell you, this was a daunting task. I thought this was going to be impossible. I had no idea how long this was going to take me. But what I did is I put a pause temporarily on my further investing, and I went 100% all in with every disposable dollar I had, everything I could possibly save, and I made principal only payments on my mortgage to accelerate paying it down. And in a matter of several years, I finally had the house paid off, and this was all before my mid-30s. But like I always say, it may be simple on paper, but it's not easy. It takes some perseverance, some willpower, and a really strong goal and a mindset to get you there. So in quick recap, I had low overhead. I then built an investment portfolio first. Then I had to make sure I had at least $4,000 in passive income through my investments. And last, I paid off my mortgage. But the biggest benefit to all that was being able to live a work optional lifestyle, to have peace of mind day to day over finances and not to have to stress over the bills and over costs. So retirement doesn't have to mean stop working. What it meant for me is that I could start pursuing work that was more meaningful to me. I could have more impact. I could be more giving. I could be more charitable. I could try to make a difference in other people's lives instead of having to worry about me, and taking care of my own finances. So I share all of this with you to simply inspire, to show you that I'm an ordinary guy. Okay, I came from a lower middle class family, moving up to the middle class at one point, not a trust fund kid, not coming from a family of wealth. I'm just a guy that set a goal and I went for it. And I just want to show you that it's possible. So regardless of what track or what path you're on currently, regardless of your age, just remember that retirement is a number, not an age. So the question is, what's your number? And are you willing to work towards your goal? Start with your goals, take action, and to your success. You're listening to the Passive Income Lifestyle Series. I'm your host, Travis Watts. Always happy to help, be a mentor, be a resource. You can reach me at travis@ashcroftcapital.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. That really helps the channel and it helps videos like this reach more people like you. If you have questions about what we're up to here at Ashcroft Capital in terms of passive income investing, multifamily apartment investing, you can visit ashcroftcapital.com. I truly appreciate you being here. Until next week, have a great week, everyone.